YouTube, going live over there. We'll let everyone in here. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Hi, everyone. It's good to see you all. So glad you could make it. Going live over there. Let's see. There we are. All right. Well, let's see what's happening today. Everyone just get your favorite cup of coffee or tea and your front row seat. And welcome back after a few weeks of missing everyone. We missed you all. Hi, Jenny. Thank you for being back as our most valuable co-host.
Thank you, Bill. It's always an absolute delight to be here and do these webinars with you.
Thank you. Yeah, it is my joy. I got as you know, I'm plenty busy. I've been preparing for the Integrated Awakening Conference that it's September 17 through the 19. I'll put a link in the chat here if I can find it. Yeah, here's a link. And it's coming up the 17th, and I've been getting ready for it because I had this idea of interviewing all the speakers before the conference, 30-minute get to know the speaker interviews, and 27 of them, I think, all the speakers are participating, and we're just doing a personal, but not too personal, not too much information. No, as my oldest daughter would say, no, Dad, that's TMI. I don't need to know all of that. So we're not doing that with the speakers, but we're getting close with them, and it's fun. And so that has been taking place. I did a 90-minute pre-record with Judith Gladstone yesterday. She is a great teacher, amazing. And if you hear her name again, just know she really brings people through the direct experience of connecting the senses, the body-mind experiences with the non-dual understanding of pure presence, of awareness. And she does it in a masterful way. She calls it the realization process. And she's quite good at it. She does it through, I mean, she's almost like she does it almost like a clinician or a technician that's bringing you through the process so carefully and gently. So if you hear her name again, Judith Gladstone. And so we're going to look at the best of the best, or at least, parts of the best takeaways from the Perfume of Silence today. We'll be together for an hour. And there's a few people that have emailed in their highlights. Rick West, I don't know where you are. We missed you this week. You must be off doing something else because you're so involved when you're here. But Rana emailed something in, and Lindsay did. And if anyone here wants to come on live or in chat, put your highlight page, please do that. And Jenny, I'm just going to invite you to start us off.
Okay, well, I'd like to start with Lindsay's submission. She's not able to talk very well at the moment because she's got COVID and pneumonia has set in. I don't know whether she's going to be joining us or not, but she's not really able to talk. So she asked me to read what she said, and this is what she wrote. She said the concept from the book that helped her the most was on page 197 to 198. And it was advice Francis gives for those of us who make consciousness personal. And he said, replace the word consciousness with the word God or divine, or add those words to the word consciousness. And the quality implied by the words God consciousness and divine consciousness feels infinite and universal, and is therefore closer to the truth. And I felt that was really the core of this this teaching, the recognition that the consciousness that we are is infinite and universal. And, I had a short messenger conversation with Lindsay on Monday, and she described beautifully how desperation and vulnerability and incredible fatigue from her experiences of COVID had impelled her to surrender to presence and just to watch the body-mind movie without resistance. And I think it was very much the teaching from this book that has helped her with that.
That is really great. And that's why these ideas, talking about them, can be so important when we find ourselves in the bodysuit, having trouble being in that place of inspiration, being in that place of, because when pain is present or the body is overwhelmingly chronic in some way, you just don't know when it's going to happen. And it's good to have resources like this, like we've been sharing, to be able to anchor into, I think.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. It says on the next page of one on 200. So that was looking at page 198, and then Francis just two pages over says we have to reach the stage when, if asked what we are, no image or sensation could possibly arise to answer the question. We immediately and instinctively feel, I don't know. This question connects us directly with our most intimate reality, free from all images. It's just, so in my mind, that's what, even though this isn't a practice, this is a satsang. This is immersing ourselves in the truth of these ideas until we own them, we know them for ourselves, I feel.
Yes, and I think he's also describing this not knowing, which is very much a feature of Francis's teaching, which is different from most other teachers. I mean, if I were to sum up everything I've learned from Francis, from this book, and also from his daily online meetings, which I've attended for about a year now, it would be not knowing and freedom, and those two are very, very closely connected. And that not knowing, it's not attachment, it's non-attachment to any kind of belief, any kind of conceptualization. I think that's what that quote was saying.
Yeah, yes. And it's I don't know, for me it's a gradual entry to that through the understanding and the descriptions that are given by Francis, by Rupert, by Jean Klein, or other teachings. It's those descriptions and the way they're presented that has helped me to connect with my own understanding for it.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Rana, I don't know if Rana's here, but I'm going to read her email. She said, I spent the last week rereading everything I had underlined. What a wonderful experience it has been participating in our book study. In particular, the answer to the question on page 164. What do you mean by testing it in real life situations, is what it looks like the question is. And in response to Francis referring to it in the paragraph before, is consciousness personal or not? The whole answer is a beautiful practice.
Yes, shall I read that answer, because it's really lovely. It relates very much to what Lindsay, the quote that Lindsay referenced as well about personal or universal. And Francis says, in your relationships, for instance, when you are facing a so-called other, it means being open to the possibility that the consciousness behind those eyes in front of you is the same consciousness that you feel inside yourself. It means being constantly open to the possibility that we are like two flowers looking at each other from two different branches of the same tree, so that if we were to go deep enough inside to the trunk, we would realize that we are one. Just being open to this possibility will have a profound effect on your relationships and on your experience of the world. The result of this experiment comes as an experience, not as a concept, although it may subsequently be formulated by the mind if necessary.
Mm.
And it's more than a practice, it's a way of living, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. And so if you just look at the screen here right now, all of the images that look like bodies, these are flowers, right? The different color shirts, faces, some have glasses on, all the color. Where are these flowers? And the essence of everything here is the tree of pure light, pure knowing. And we're the branches, and then the flowers. We're just the opening flowers of that expression. What a great picture he paints here. It's beautiful. Yeah, I see Rana. Hi, Rana. I loved your email, and I had the same experience. What a wonderful experience it was to go back and look at what was underlined, and what I put little notes and stars and comments next to, and revisiting that was a total blast, right? And I see you have your hand up. Would you go ahead and unmute your mic? Are you there? Can you unmute your mic, Rana? There you are. Where'd you go?
Hi, sorry. For some reason, I froze up for a second. I guess that's not a coincidence. But yeah, it says it'll have a profound effect.
You froze again. You must have a unstable internet there, Rana. We lost you.
Yes,
Sorry.
it may be the Wi-Fi. I think
Yeah.
she's back again.
I
Yeah.
apologize. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I'm not supposed to share right now. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
It has had a profound effect in my personal relationships, in the people that I live with in my home that I am charged with caregiving for. It is just, being those flowers and looking them in the eye just with pure love, not what they're saying or doing, just the pure love of it all. It's changed everything. There's so many things that I could point out in the book, but it's just been a phenomenal experience for me. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Rana. It's a joy to have you part of the group and all the different groups that we're in. You and I share other groups as well, and it's just a joy to have you to participate in everything. And many of you here are the same. Thank you for being part of this book study. I was contacted by Rupert's book guy yesterday. They're sending me a copy of the Choosing Myself book that will be starting on November 17th. And everyone will get invitations to that. I'm transferring this list over to my email list so I can send you invitations and a registration link for that book study when it'll be set up probably in the next few weeks, and you'll get an invitation to join us also. And we'll do it again. We'll start in November, and that book study has two books in the queue right now. Rupert's first one and then a second one, and it'll probably be a pretty big group because he'll be promoting it on his website. And for me, I want to go back to on this book. Oh, wait a minute. There was before I go to mine, there was a favorite by Rosalind. Hi, Rosalind. Good to see you today.
Hi. Can I read the share that really touched me?
Oh, yeah, sure.
And first, I want to just say my appreciation for all of you, for you, Bill, and for Jenny. It's been a very touching experience. And this book is so extraordinarily practical. The portals, the doorways, I could get lost in almost every sentence and opened, lost in a good way, where the perfume exists. But so this page, the small I is that which appears. This is page 50. The real I is that in which it appears. That which appears is limited in time and space. It has some sort of contour. That in which it appears is limitless. The small I and the real I coexist, but not at the same level. The small I cannot exist independently of the real I, but the real I exists independently of the small I. Their natures are different, although ultimately the real nature of the small I, whether it is a thought or a feeling, is nothing other than consciousness, the real I. The small I is perceived. The real I perceives. Whatever is being experienced is not you. It is enough to simply see whatever is being experienced clearly and impartially. By seeing in this way, we are already taking our stand in our true nature. For example, we don't have to formulate, I am not this perception. To fully perceive our body liberates us from being the body. It is important not to expect anything. To want a divine experience of pleasure on top of freedom is the fall from our problem-free nature. This problem-free nature is joyful and peaceful. It is not something that comes and goes. There is a sense of freedom, a perfume. What really matters is that which is permanent. And I could go on, but I mean, is that not just gorgeous? And so clear, so clear.
Yeah. Yeah, it is beautiful, gorgeous, so clear, and it's funny. It's like when you buy a car and you say, "Oh, there's my car. Oh, there's my car over there too." And you never noticed that car before you bought one. And since we've started looking at these ideas and and the content of what the pointing is pointing to, it's like the integration. He's speaking about integrating, in what you just read, integrating the body experience with consciousness. right? It's the totality of the integration experience that he's speaking of right here.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. So beautiful.
Thank you. Awesome. And George Speckert says, watch the Body Mind movie without resistance. Wow.
I think he's referring to what Lindsay told me. So,
Right.
yes, yeah.
I was just
It is
repeating
beautiful.
something. That was a quote from what I heard from
Yes.
Jenny.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you, George.
Worth repeating though.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
You know, when I started at the beginning when I started going back through this. I'm sure as many of you also did, and I love what Rupert said in the foreword, because it's just profound, as Rupert is as well. He said it says on page 2 of this book, the real question is not in the words, and the real answer is not in the words either. The words must vanish for their true meaning to be understood, and in that moment we realize that we do not understand what is said in these pages. We are that understanding. We are that understanding. So the true content of both the answer and the question is this openness, this not knowing. What, Jenny, you were just saying from that passage that Lindsay was reading, out of which they both arise, in which they are both maintained, and into which they are both dissolved. It is that which is present behind, between, and within the words. And so I love that paragraph at the bottom of page 2. And then one more, he says on page 3, the purpose of these dialogues is love. The purpose of these dialogues is love. The purpose that we join together right now, here and for 30 weeks, the purpose is love. It is not to reinforce the idea that we are students and that the teacher is a teacher. When this openness is revealed to itself through this play of dialogues, one of the ways it is experienced is as friendship, as love. And this love is the dissolution of boundaries, the dissolution of all that makes us think and feel we are separate from each other and from the world. Strangely enough, it is this very dissolution of other that makes us truly capable of loving an other. I was blown away right there. I could have stopped right there, but I didn't. I continued on like the rest of you did. Thank you. And Catherine, you have your hand up. Would you please unmute your mic?
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Yes, and another stellar book discussion. I don't know what number this is, Bill and Jenny, that we've been engaged with, but probably right from the very beginning. And I think, Jenny, you were there right from the very beginning also.
Yes.
Would this, what book would this be? 10? I don't know.
It was quite a lot.
Quite a lot.
Yeah.
And you know, watching my transformation over those years, and also Bill and Jenny also, the softening, the depth of softening, it's just like all borders disappear. In the beginning, we're all, you know, desiring the juice of it and wanting it to, you know, shake us, and that happens still, of course, especially in this powerful book. but the shaking is so deep and subtle now that it's hard to describe. I think the one word that I really have come to understand, well, actually understand, the word understand is a really good place to understand, but is the word happiness, is what, to understand happiness to me is so much different than what I thought it was. It's just to really be understanding what's happening. And the word happiness starts with the word happen, happiness. So to be understanding what's happening in this moment, every moment, and to be complete with that. And to me, I was not complete with the stuff that was happening that I didn't think was happy. And now, even with Lindy, as she's sitting there wrapped in her blanket, probably shaking and shivering and horrible, we can find the happiness because it's what's happening. It's just what's happening. And that to me is so gorgeous because I have suffered great loss in the last year. I lost another sister, as you know, Jenny. I had come from a big family, but I lost another sister tragically. And this time around, it was quite glorious because I could get to the eternal part of who we are and could match up with her and be with her and not feel her loss at all. As a matter of fact, she expanded and she is everywhere. And her essence, that again, she is a Buddhist. And you know the stories of her and me and the Buddhists. We argue back and forth. It was so much fun. We were very dynamic and very close. Well, she passed suddenly, and she's still delivering to me so many lessons because she had just finished a 2-week silent retreat with Francis's, and like you, I've attended everyone online for a year, and I know a few people here. Lindy also has attended a lot. Has just expanded me, has just blown me apart, and not in a dynamic way where you might notice or anybody else would. As a matter of fact, I don't speak very well anymore because the speaking part is still difficult, but the internal expanding is phenomenal. So I just wanted to share that. So give some space to everyone else that wants to share. And thank you for allowing me to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. That was awesome. I appreciate it. We all do. And yeah, this is, I mean, I haven't attended many of Francis's satsangs. I just haven't found the time to do it, but I love sitting through them. I'm a little bit jealous. I would like to go in person someday.
Me too.
Rosalind, you have your hand up again, and then Zachary.
Yes, I just wanted to respond to, well, Catherine, that was gorgeous. Thank you. And I think we all resonate with the internal changes. Thank you for speaking of them. I just wanted to respond to what was read and spoken of about the questions. And at a Rupert retreat, he's so good with words and so accurate about his language that he attracts many people who have personalities that are very mental and have a lot of questions. And at this retreat, a whole group of people, it was getting more and more detailed and cerebral. And those of us who are not so much more feeling oriented were noticing. And then one of these people got up and she said, I was just about to ask you my next question. But then I realized all I want is this with you, Rupert. And so that's what the questions were about. And that refers to the love. The questions are about the love that is seeking, the love that is there, and it said everything. And it was so profound. I just wanted to throw that out because I'll never forget it. And it was a couple of years ago. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I mean. The purpose of these dialogues is love. It's love remembering itself also, I would think.
Yes.
And that's what that felt visceral experience that we share. It's awesome. Zachary, would you please unmute your mic?
I want to read a paragraph from A Course in Miracles that expresses what Rupert and Francis awoke in me. And it came to me this morning. So I want to share this paragraph from A Course in Miracles as a heartfelt expression of what was given to me or awoken in me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the hush of heaven holds my heart today. Father, how still today. How quietly do all things fall in place. This is the day that has been chosen as the time in which I come to understand the lesson that there is no need that I do anything. In you, God, my own true being, is every choice already made. In you has every conflict been resolved. In you is everything I hope to find already given me. Your peace is mine, my heart is quiet, and my mind at rest. Your love is heaven, and your love is mine. And I felt that expresses.
That's almost poetry, isn't it? That's Zachary.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you, Zachary, for bringing that in. I love that passage in A Course in Miracles. The hush of heaven holds my heart today, and it also integrates the ideas that are expressed by Rupert and Francis. And when you recognize, and I love what Francis says in the Perfume of Silence when he talks about prayer and who we're praying to and who that poem and who that prayerful statement that you just expressed, who that's transmitted to and from is nothing other than love itself. It's from love to love, expressing love as itself to itself, in itself. It's just beautiful. Really great. Do we have any others that are on the board here, Jenny?
I don't think there's anything on the board. Can't see whether anyone's got a.
I don't see any others. Yeah, and
hands.
thank you, William, for I had the name wrong on Rupert's book, Being Myself. It's not choosing myself, it's being myself. I better get the title right if I'm going to have a book study, right? Funny. Well, I don't have it in my hands yet. I like to have it, I'm not a Kindle guy. Lisa's sort of, she likes to have paper this and paper that, and I'm sort of gravitating over to her way of looking at it, of having things in your hands. I like to have a book in my hand, underline it, highlight it, put stars on it. And the electronic features they just don't feel the same for me. So if I wanted to look at page 11 in the Perfume of Silence, just one line that Francis refers to. He refers to meditation in several places throughout this book. But in the second paragraph, he says, meditation is very simple. It means to surrender the mind, the body, and the world from moment to moment to the silent presence in which they appear. That's all. Pretty simple, right? So we're right here having a meditation right now. Very simple.
Yes.
We're surrendering all of these parts, and they're all included as the one self that is actually understanding and reading these things.
Yes, yes. In chapter 14, there's a lovely quote about meditation really as a way of living, and he explains how eventually all our activities come directly from meditation, from abiding as what we truly are. And it's on, I'm afraid I haven't got the Kindle reference to this one. I've got Kindle references to most of them, not this one. Remember, so it's on page 211. Remember that meditation is not an activity. Meditation is about not knowing, not wanting, not holding on to anything. We are open-handed, open-minded, open-bodied, and open-hearted. And I love that. Again, it's about openness and not knowing, and that was one of the key things I learned from Francis.
It's in not knowing, and actually, you know, I love that, Zachary. I love that you brought the course in to the play of this, because I see this all through A Course in Miracles. When you set aside the dualistic language, or when you bring it in and include it in the non-dual understanding, it brings on a whole different perfume, as it brings on a whole different love for the language of it. And this meditation, I mean, what you just read here sounds a bit like A Course in Miracles. It says, I need do nothing. Meditation is about not knowing, not wanting, not holding on to anything. And the Course has, in one of the workbook lessons, 189, it says that we need to enter into this experience with God. And I also love what Francis refers to as what God is. We need to enter into this place with wholly empty hands unto, and it says our God. I would just say what God is. Wholly empty hands unto God presence that recognizes and knows itself as I am. And in that direct experience is what Rupert and Francis are pointing to in all of these essays. There's a question on chapter 8, which I highlighted here on page 117, that says, the questioner says, I have had occasional experience of meeting someone when there is no them or me, but all day long we are busy meeting people. Can you say something about that? And Francis says the only place that we can start from is our own experience, not somebody else's. We have to research the true nature of our being and understand first that there is nobody here. That is the prerequisite. At some point, we understand that what we truly are is this non-localized presence. What we truly are is this non-localized presence So I'm just going to invite everyone to embody that right now. What we truly are is this non-localized presence, non-localized welcoming. At the very moment we understand this, we have a glimpse of it. Because we can only understand it when we are it. To understand it, we need to be it, knowingly and at that moment. We become acquainted with the impersonal way of being, of just being present without being a person, being open, being this welcoming space. This is a bit meditative, even as we say it, as we say the words. Awake. I call this awake awareness.
Yes. This awareness is always awake. It in fact is just whether it's knowingly awake or not. Yes. Yes.
It's kind of a subtle idea that when you drop into having your attention on the direct experience or having attention as awareness, it somehow illuminates itself. You know what I mean?
Yes, he talks about some words automatically taking you to their referent, and awareness or consciousness or I being one of those words.
Yeah. Are there any other highlights? Oh, I'm sorry, Rosalind, I didn't see the question on what page I was reading from.
Oh, it was 117 Bill was reading from, Rosalind. So
okay, yeah.
yeah, it was the beginning of that chapter, Explosion of Freedom.
Yeah.
Yes. If I was just wanting to mention one of the things that really meant a lot to me. And that was really throughout this book. Francis is referring to being free from all of our beliefs and concepts. And this is from chapter 13, it's page 195 or 172 in Kindle. All that is needed is to be free from old concepts. That is important. To see that they don't have any credibility leaves us in an attitude of not knowing, an attitude in which we have forgotten everything we knew, in which we have nothing. And that's the meaning of being poor in spirit. We know nothing, have nothing, want nothing. And then a bit later in that chapter on page 202, which is Kindle 178, he says, just stay in not knowing, forget from moment to moment that which was present the moment before, let it go. Don't hold on to anything, any method, any thought, any feeling, any bodily sensation, any sense perception. Let it flow. And it applies not just to our old beliefs that others are outside of ourselves, that there are other people outside of ourselves, other individuals or other things. It applies to even the descriptions of non-duality that we read in this book. We mustn't take any of them as beliefs. It's really, as you were saying, Bill, it's just a releasing of all of those beliefs through understanding that we don't know, just through that openness. And I think that's very beautiful. You're muted, Bill.
Thank you, Jenny. I was talking about the course when with Zachary was talking about that beautiful, the hush of heaven, and what you just said is in the paragraph before what I was reading or what I was reciting to Zachary from the course when it says, and this is such a parallel to these two teachings. In the paragraph before, come with holy empty hands unto your God, or to what God is, it says, simply do this: be still and lay aside all thoughts of what you are and what God is, all concepts you have learned about the world, all images you hold about yourself. Empty your mind of everything it thinks is either true or false, or good or bad, of every thought it judges worthy, and all the ideas of which it is ashamed. Hold on to nothing. Do not bring with you one thought the past has taught, nor one belief you ever learned before from anything. Forget this world, forget this course, and come with holy empty hands unto your God. And that's precisely what you just read.
It is exactly, isn't it, Bill? Yes. I'm amazed you suddenly found it in the course.
That's exactly what Francis
Yeah.
said. Francis, I guarantee you, Francis has never read the course.
No, he hasn't, I know.
That's just a brilliant correlation of the two
Yes, yes.
teachings. Yeah, yeah. I have such a love for, for a document that says, forget this document. That's a good teaching.
Yes.
Like don't follow the teacher. Follow what it's pointing to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's see, what you just read, Bill, lesson 189 is my favorite. Oh, yes. Thank you, Rosalind. Yeah, I know, right? It's my favorite lesson in the course. It's poetry for me too. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's just it is beautiful. There's so much poetry in the course. And let's see, there's a section here in the Perfume of Silence that speaks about a way of being, not doing, and it's on page 173. I don't know which chapter this is, but it's page 173, and it's the bottom of the page. It talks about Hitler. It says, so should the likes of Hitler just be left alone to do their thing? And this is talking about, I think it's talking about choosing, and Francis says, certainly not. In every situation, we welcome the totality of that situation, including our own responses and reactions. Having looked at the situation with this impartial attitude, we act accordingly. With this impartial attitude, we act accordingly, taking everything into consideration. It is the lack of judgment in such a case that enables us to act in the best possible way for all concerns. So when we establish ourselves in this understanding, we need do nothing, because what is to be done is not a doing. It's simply just a being. It's like a silent or a quiet listening.
Yes, and thinking about all of the atrocities that go on in the world, not just Hitler, but modern day ones as well. This teaching, it's really a test how deeply this teaching has gone inwards into us, because Francis explains that as a separate entity, we cannot choose our thoughts or decisions. He says it's on page, a little bit before that, on page 167 or Kindle 148, it's obvious that you have no free will as a person. Ask yourself when a thought comes to you whether or not you choose it. Obviously not, otherwise you would always choose happy thoughts, beautiful thoughts. You don't choose your thoughts. They just appear like clouds. Similarly, when you make a decision, the decision comes as a thought, therefore you do not make your decisions. And if that has really sunk in, then the consequence is that no one is guilty. You are not guilty for what you did in the past. And when we really understand that, it becomes obvious that no one else is guilty for anything they did. And Hitler wasn't guilty for his actions. They're all actions that come from universal consciousness. But then in contrast, what's so explained so beautifully, I think, in this book is the contrast between not choosing our thoughts, not being able to choose our thoughts as a separate entity, but as consciousness, as the absolute, we have complete freedom. So everything is an act of God, but God is ourself. That means everything is an act of ourself, not an imagined separate self, but the real self of infinite awareness. And on page 37 or Kindle 32, it says our most precious treasure is freedom, and that means the freedom to be miserable if we so choose. We are free to identify with the body-mind organism if we want to. We are free to carry the baggage of the past with us or to drop it. It's very easy, but we choose not to. That's our freedom. We are freedom itself. And that's beautiful, but it's a very deep teaching. That whole idea needs to go really deeply inside for us to recognize it. In other words, it's consciousness that chooses ignorance. It's consciousness itself. It's not a person that chooses ignorance.
Right, right. And I of course I love to see the world with the glass 3/4 full. And in my mind, the fact that we're meeting in this way, the fact that these discussions are becoming a growing, I mean, there are innumerable books and teachings and pointings that are pointing to these ideas that were unheard of 50 years ago, and
Yes.
are only known by a remnant of people. And now it's becoming more globally experienced, understood, and for someone that sees the world with the glass 3/4 or half full, I think, well, this must be the evolution of consciousness that is waking itself up to the ideas that will be accessed, and then the evolutionary process might, I mean, I don't know anything, but it might be, the paradox is that we would start to act differently, that culture will act differently with itself.
I think we can see that just with our own interactions and how those affect other people around us, can't we?
Yeah.
But if we look globally, then we look at what's happening, the totality of what's happening in the world. We can see things which we feel are not right. The pandemic, or our government's incompetence of dealing with it, or Afghanistan and climate crisis and all of those things. But Francis says, you have to, if we think there's a problem with the world, we have a problem. You have to dehypnotize yourself from the problem, which is the object, and turn towards the self. The self will deal with the problem in an inappropriate way. And he says surrender to the self. So that's on page 91, Kindle 31. And in my understanding, turning to the self doesn't mean turning away from the world. As a first step, if we imagine looking across the whole of time, or looking from a point light years away in space, then things look very different. And from there, from that perspective, that's just a small step to eternity and infinity. And so it doesnn't necessarily, as the part you read, it doesn't necessarily mean inaction. It means an impersonal response, which comes from surrender of the belief to be a separate entity.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a beautiful, thank you, Francis. You're not here, but thank you for your awesome essays and your meetings, your commitment, your devotion to truth. And I like what on page 39, titled, it's chapter 3, it says, just say yes inside. Just say yes inside. That's, I mean, I love the title to this chapter, but I also like the answer to the question, is there any place for devotion in this teaching of non-duality? His answer, yes. But the important question is devotion to what? We are devoted to reality, to God, to consciousness, not to an object, a fragment, an image. We are not interested in idolatry. Devotion, as it is usually understood, is directed towards some kind of object, an image, a deity with some characteristics, a human teacher, a personal God, or to the divine qualities of a personal God. These are all objects. I am not suggesting that this kind of devotion is useless. It is useful and eventually takes the devotee to the truth. And I love devotion, but I love Francis's description of devotion. Devotion to the truth, devotion to I am. And you know, I love Jesus, but he's just like you and me. He's had a bodysuit with a name they call Jesus, and thankfully he brought in, I don't know how that worked, where he brought in consciousness calling itself him in the Course in Miracles. Who knows how that happened? I'm grateful for it because it brought me to the truth, but I also know that there's the isness of God is beyond writing, it's beyond words. It's in this silence that is pointed to by Francis and Rupert and all of the sages that have gone before them. And Jenny, if you have any final words before we close our last meeting with Francis's book.
I'd like to read one final thing. It's on page 232. Simply remain in waiting without waiting. You are the love in everything you love. You are the beauty in everything you behold. You are the intelligence in everything you understand. You are the sweetness in all things.
Yes, thank you for that. Thank you for that. And this has been a great time together. Zachary, you had your hand up. I want to respect that. Would you like to say something?
Just from Rupert and Francis, I learned that who and what we essentially are cannot be hurt and has never been hurt. And that's something to really recognize. And it really has to do with our essential freedom. And the essence of forgiveness, that who and what we are has never been hurt and cannot be hurt. It's only the person that senses that. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. And
Perfect.
thank you, everyone. I put a link in the chat for the Integrated Awakening Conference. If you're interested in clicking the link and saving that information, it is available in that link. And it'll only be available until we close the room. So if you're interested, just click on the link in the chat and save it. And I will be inviting all of you to the Rupert Spira book study, Being Myself, and I look forward to seeing you then. And some of you have written to me at billfreeonline@gmail.com and had an interest in being guest hosts for that book study. It will be a rotation of guest hosts, and I'll be putting that together over the next month, 6 weeks or so, probably the next month, so that you'll have notice of, we can fill in the calendar on where everyone goes. And if anyone is going to Garrison, I will be there October the 10th for that week with Rupert Spira. He's doing an in-person retreat at Garrison in New York. And if you're going to be there, I look forward to seeing you in person. And until we see you again, thank you for being part of this awesome book study. It's been just joyful and amazing, and we are super grateful. I'm going to unmute the mic for everyone just so that you can speak and say goodbye if you want. If I'm able to do that, how can I unmute the mics? Yes, see, mute all or unmute all? Unmute everyone. There we go. Okay, so goodbye, everyone, and we'll see you next time. See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bill. Bye, everyone.
Much
It's
love.
wonderful. Get well, Lindy.
Yes, get well, Lindsay.
Yeah.
Love you all. Bye.
Yes. Hi to everyone.